This is going to be a 10-minute crash course in teamfight tactics that will teach a new player everything they need to know in order to be able to jump into a game right away. With the upcoming release of Set 3, along with the highly anticipated TFT Mobile, this is a perfect video if you want to learn how to play the game, or maybe get your girlfriend or parents into it if they suddenly have more free time on their hands. If you've already been playing TFT through the last 2 sets, then this is probably going to be a review. So Teamfight Tactics, commonly referred to as TFT, is an 8-person free-for-all auto-battler in which the player builds a team of units to fight against an opposing player's team. Auto-battler means that you aren't actually controlling the units, you place them on the board and they fight on their own. All players begin the game with 100 health, and throughout the game you fight opposing players' teams. The losing player takes damage and the game continues until there is only one team remaining. In order to build a strong team, there are multiple different factors. I'm going to cover some of the fundamental concepts in the game to get you started, such as units, economy, items, positioning, and general strategy. It sounds like a lot, but I'm going to break it all down and I promise the game mostly plays itself. First, I want to talk about units. Every round, the player is given a shop of 5 units to choose from, which you can purchase with gold. There are 51 units in the game, all with a combination of different stats, class, origin, and an ability. The cost of a unit can range from 1 to 5 gold, and generally speaking, the higher cost units are stronger, but the cost does not necessarily take into account the star level or bonuses you get from origin or class synergies. There are 3 star levels of units in TFT. When you purchase a unit from the shop, it will only be a 1-star unit. When you attain 3 of the same 1-star unit, it automatically upgrades into a 2-star. This gives the unit better stats and increases the effectiveness of its ability. Generally, you want to have a board full of 2-star units if you can. The next level is a 3-star, which is usually pretty rare. In order to get a 3-star unit, you need 3 of the same 2-star unit, which means 9 1-stars. Making a 3-star unit greatly increases its overall power. Now let's get into synergies. Units will have a combination of 2 or 3 synergies called class or origin. When the units are in the shop, it will say what their synergies are, and you can right-click on your unit to see and read the synergies. During the game, you can see what synergies you currently have with the units on your board and even opponents' boards. This is important because when you have multiple units with the same synergy, you get a bonus. Oftentimes, you will get a better bonus with more units of the same synergy. For example, if you have 2 unique vanguards, they will get 60 bonus armor. And when you have 4 unique vanguards, you will get 250 armor. Armor is a stat that helps take reduced physical damage or damage from regular hits from enemies, allowing vanguards to absorb more damage in a fight. So yes, you want to have high value units, but you also want them to have synergies with the units on the board. Meaning that throwing in a 5-cost unit may not be as strong as putting in, say, a 2 or 3-cost unit that gives you a powerful synergy. Just a couple more notes about units. You can only have units on your board equal to your level, so at level 3 you can only have 3 units. The maximum level is 9. Next, you are only able to purchase certain units based on your level, and there are only so many of each unit in the game. There's a little bar of percentages on your screen, and it is basically telling you what percentage chance you will have to get a certain cost unit. At the beginning of the game, when you are a low level, you have a high chance of getting a 1 and 2 cost unit. As you level up, the chance to get a low cost unit goes down, but the chance to get a higher cost unit increases. This is part of the strategy, which I will cover later in the video. The next fundamental concept I'm going to focus on is economy. At the start of every round, except for the first one, you will receive gold, which you can use to buy units or experience. Just so you know, you also get 2 experience every round, which I would also argue is part of your economy. You can choose to spend your gold on experience to level up, but only in increments of 4. In the first minion stages, you will only get 2 or 3 gold at first, but once you start playing players, you will get a minimum of 5 gold each round. Everyone gets a minimum each round, but your income can be increased from winning a round, win or loss streaks, and or interest. A really simple way to get more gold is to win the round. When you defeat an opposing player, you get 1 gold for winning the round. The next way to increase your income is through streaks. If you win or lose multiple rounds in a row, you will get a win or loss streak bonus, which gives you bonus income at the start of the next round. The streak only goes up to 4 currently. The last way, and in my opinion the most important way to increase your economy, is through interest. For every multiple of 10 gold, you will get an increased 1 gold per round of income. So by holding 10 gold at the end of the round, you will get an extra 1 gold, and at 50 gold, you will get 5 extra income. You cannot get more than 5 gold from interest per round. Managing your economy is a crucial component of building a strong team. It allows a player to level up, purchase units, or reroll their shop for different options. Saving your gold is important, but you also have to know when to spend it to gain an advantage. Another way to increase the strength of your team is through items. You get your first item with the unit you choose in the carousel round at the start of the game. There is 1 carousel round in the middle of each stage for the rest of the game. During carousel rounds, players are able to choose a unit that has an item. After the first carousel, picking order is decided by the reverse standings of the game. 2 players go at a time, with the lowest health players choosing first. When you take a unit, you can keep the item on the unit or sell it, which pops the item off to combine onto someone else. You can also get items from minion rounds. When you kill minions, they have a chance to drop gold, items, champions, or Nico's help. The game starts out with 3 minion rounds, but after that there is 1 minion round at the end of each stage. It is very crucial that your team is strong enough to win the minion rounds in order to get items. I'll cover positioning for these rounds in the next part of the video. When you get an item, it just gives a base stat increase, but when you combine 2 items together, it makes a completed item. The completed item has the stats from both items and a powerful effect. You can see what the item combination will give you by dragging one item on top of another. Just for example, if you combine the BF sword and chain vest together, you get a guardian angel, which gives both attack damage and armor, but also the unique effect that if your unit dies, it will revive after a short delay with 400 HP. Anyways, there is one item called the spatula, which is a curveball, because when combined with other items, it allows you to create a synergy. When you put it onto one of your units, it can give them an extra synergy they might not have otherwise. For example, the sword plus spatula makes a blade master in set 3, making it easier to get the 6 energy bonus, which can be quite powerful. When you combine 2 spatulas together, it creates a force of nature, which allows you to put 1 additional unit on your board. This is pretty rare, but one of the best combinations if you can get it. There are many item combinations in the game, and I suggest using a cheat sheet of some sort at the beginning to help you out. I'll leave a few links to cheat sheets in the description. Now I'm going to cover some general positioning. So when it comes to placing your units on the board, you're going to want a front line and a back line. Generally, you want to have your beefy units or tank units in the front line, while your damage dealing units or carries are in the back line. This is an oversimplification, but is pretty effective for most compositions. Units like Vanguard, Protector, and Brawler are going to stand in the front to absorb damage. The damage units you have are going to depend on the composition, but you want them to be protected in your back line so they can output the most damage possible. One difficult unit to deal with is Blitzcrank. At the start of each round, he automatically pulls the farthest unit. So if your carry is in the back, they get pulled and easily killed. Usually I like to put some non-carry units in the corner to prevent this. Minion rounds have different positioning depending on which minion round you are in. The first 3 minion rounds at the start of the game don't really matter. You can place units anywhere and they will win. Rounds 2-6 and 3-6 are probably the only rounds you have to worry about. 2-6 is Krugs. This round is difficult because the Krugs are tanky and regenerate their health when one of them dies. You want your team to be focusing 1 Krug at a time because if you split your damage up, it won't matter after one of them dies. You usually will be level 4 or 5, and I like to place all my units in the far right corner to take out this isolated Krug first, putting my tankiest unit on the inside to absorb the damage from the other 2. 3-6 is Wolves, which are much like the infiltrators that jump into your backline. Flipping the positioning of your units is usually enough to win the round, putting your carries at the front and tanks at the back to make sure the Wolves jump to your tanky units first. For the other minion rounds, you generally just need to have a strong team and you can keep your regular positioning. Now we just covered a lot of information that is used to play TFT, and it can be sort of overwhelming, but the game is actually slow paced, and for the most part, it's really just about the decisions you make rather than mechanical skill. For general strategy, I would say that there are a couple things you need to focus on when playing the game. The early game is from the start through round 2-6, and in these rounds I would argue that winning and losing is not super important. You do not take as much damage in these rounds as you would in the later stages of the game. Focus on picking up matching synergies and making 2-star units, while also building your economy when you can. The goal is usually to get 50 gold as soon as possible without losing too much health. Once you are over 50 gold, you can choose to spend your money on rerolls and units, or experience to level up. Putting your gold into experience is safer as leveling up allows you to put more units in and have access to the higher cost units sooner. Of course, the opposite strategy is viable, meaning you stay a low level and you try to get 3 stars of the lower cost units. However, this is a strategy I would stay away from until you are more experienced with the game. In the later stages of the game, you will usually want to have either one really powerful synergy, highlighted gold, like a rare 4 or completed 6 unit synergy, or a creative composition with several smaller synergies to be well rounded. One thing that can be difficult at first, but is extremely important as you improve at the game, is scouting. Looking around at what your opponents are doing is important for several different reasons. First, there's only so many of each unit in the game, so if one person is already going Blade Master, it is going to be difficult for you to also go Blade Master because you are competing for the same units. For example, there is only 12 of each 4-cost unit, so if 2 people already have a 2-star of a 4-cost unit, there are only 6 more possible chances to get that specific unit. Next, you can adjust your item choices to other people's builds. If you notice a lot of people are going magic damage builds, then you can adjust your strategy by picking up a null magic mantle on the carousel. Some players will focus on going a predetermined composition. However, you may not always be able to get the composition you want due to the luck nature of the game. For starting out, I would just focus on learning 1 or 2 compositions, knowing what level to be to get certain units, what items work best, and how to position them once you have them. And that's going to do it for my crash course in teamfight tactics. Make sure to shatter that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. Leave me a comment letting me know what else you'd like to see from League or Teamfight Tactics.